Have you ever thought about remarriage but wondered if it's the right choice for you? Marriage in your later years is a very different experience compared to when you were younger, and there are some important truths that many overlook until it's too late. Whether you've been single for a while, recently divorced, or even widowed, remarriage presents unique challenges that can affect your finances, relationships, and happiness in ways you may not expect. At this stage in life, the decision to remarry isn't just about love and companionship. It's about ensuring you're making the right choice for your well-being, your family, and your future. There are practical considerations that need to be carefully weighed, such as the financial implications, the effect on family dynamics, and the emotional expectations you bring into the relationship. Too often, people rush into remarriage without fully understanding the consequences, and as a result, they find themselves facing unnecessary stress and complications later on. In this video, we'll explore 5 essential truths about remarriage after 60 truths that could dramatically change how you view love commitment and long-term security at this stage in your life. These insights are not just theoretical. They are based on real experiences from people just like you who are navigating these challenges. Stay with me until the end, because the last truth we'll cover is something many people don't talk about, but it could bring the most peace when you understand it fully. Let's dive in and explore how to approach remarriage thoughtfully and wisely. And that brings us to the first truth you simply cannot ignore. Remarriage after 60 has real financial consequences, and overlooking them could put your security at risk. Love may feel like a matter of the heart, but marriage has always involved the practical business of money. And in your later years, the financial stakes are often much higher. You've worked for decades, saved carefully, and likely built a financial life meant to support you through retirement. Remarrying at this stage isn't just about combining hearts, it's about combining bank accounts, Social Security decisions, health care plans, and long-term estate goals. These aren't just minor details, they are big picture realities that can affect not only your quality of life, but the legacy you leave behind. Let me introduce you to Eleanor, a 68-year-old retired school teacher from Pennsylvania. After losing her husband of 40 years, she found comfort in volunteering and reconnecting with old friends. One of those friendships blossomed into something deeper with Mark, a widower she had known in local senior center. After 2 years of companionship, he proposed. Eleanor was overjoyed, but when she shared the news with her son, he gently asked, "Have you thought about what this means for your pension and your Social Security?" That simple question opened a door Eleanor hadn't even considered. What she learned startled her. For starters, Eleanor had been receiving widow's benefits based on her late husband's Social Security record. What she didn't realize is that remarrying before age 60 would have disqualified her from receiving those benefits. Thankfully, at 68, she was in the clear, but many people aren't aware of this rule. According to the Social Security Administration, widows and widowers who remarry after age 60 or 50, if disabled, can still receive survivor benefits, but those who remarry earlier may forfeit them. That's a life-altering difference in income that could cost thousands per year. And Social Security is just the tip of the iceberg. Eleanor also discovered that remarrying could affect her Medicare premiums. Since Medicare considers your household income when calculating premiums for Part B and Part D, a new spouse with a higher income could bump you into a higher bracket even if your own income hasn't changed. This is called the Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount, IRMAA, and it can significantly raise your healthcare costs. For example, in 2025, if your joint income exceeds $206,000, your Part B premium could double from the standard rate to over $400 per month. Then there's the issue of retirement assets and estate planning. Eleanor had a modest nest egg in her 403B, and Mark had his own IRA. But neither had considered how remarriage would affect their beneficiary designations. By default, a new spouse becomes the legal next of kin and may automatically be entitled to survivor benefits from retirement accounts, pensions, or life insurance policies, even if your will says otherwise. According to a 2023 study by Fidelity Investments, nearly 35% of retirees over age 60 have outdated beneficiary forms that do not reflect their current wishes or marital status. That's a recipe for unintended consequences and potential disputes. One of the smartest things Eleanor did was sit down with a financial advisor who specializes in retirement transitions and second marriages. They reviewed her accounts, updated her will, clarified her Social Security benefits, and even discussed whether a prenuptial agreement would help protect the assets she intended to pass on to her children. This process didn't take away the joy of her upcoming marriage. In fact, it gave her confidence and gave her family peace of mind. Here's the truth. These financial questions are not unromantic. They are empowering. Addressing them early allows you to enter your new relationship with clarity and security rather than uncertainty and tension. After all, love in your later years should bring comfort, not chaos. So, what can you do? Start with a financial checklist. Review your Social Security status. Will remarriage affect your benefits? If you're divorced or widowed, know the rules. Evaluate your retirement savings and income sources. Will your income change with a new spouse? Will it affect taxes or Medicare premiums? Update beneficiary designations on pensions, IRAs, 401ks, and life insurance policies. Revisit your estate plan. Does your will reflect your new relationship? Should you create a trust or a prenuptial agreement? Consult a financial and legal advisor. It's worth the investment to avoid future disputes or regrets. Remember, taking these steps isn't about expecting the worst. It's about preparing for a future that honors both your love and your legacy. Don't let the excitement of new companionship blind you to the practical matters that could shape your entire retirement. Be like Eleanor, curious, courageous, and committed to making informed decisions. Because the first truth about remarriage after 60 is this: if you don't take care of your money, it might not be there to take care of you. Just as financial clarity lays the foundation for a secure remarriage, there's another truth that is just as vital, though often more emotionally complex. Family dynamics can become surprisingly turbulent when you choose to remarry after 60. While the idea of finding love again may fill your heart with hope, it's important to remember that marriage later in life is rarely a union of just two people. It's a merging of entire family systems, long-standing traditions, and deeply rooted expectations, and these can either enrich your new relationship or quietly strain it from the edges. Take the case of Linda, a 72-year-old widow from Arizona who fell in love with Harold, a retired engineer with 2 grown children. After a year of courtship, Linda accepted Harold's proposal and assumed her family would be happy for her. But when she broke the news to her daughter, the reaction wasn't what she expected. "Are you sure this is what Dad would have wanted?" her daughter asked. In the weeks that followed, Linda began to feel a quiet chill in her once warm family gatherings. Her grandson stopped calling as often. Her Sunday dinners turned into awkward silences. And her own confidence in her decision began to waver. The problem wasn't Harold. It was the unspoken fear among her children that this new relationship would change everything from family traditions to future inheritances. These kinds of emotional undercurrents are more common than most people realize. According to a 2022 study by the National Step Family Resource Center, over 60% of remarried individuals over the age of 60 report some form of tension with adult children following their remarriage. The reasons vary. Some fear losing closeness with a parent. Others worry about financial implications, and many simply struggle with loyalty to the memory of the original spouse. For blended families with adult children on both sides, things can get even more complicated as each person brings a lifetime of habits, values, and emotional attachments into the mix. One common challenge is the silent tug-of-war over family identity and roles. Adult children may feel displaced or even betrayed when a new partner enters the picture. Some may question the sincerity of the new relationship, Others may struggle with calling someone else mom or dad, even informally. And in cases where both partners have children from previous marriages, family rituals like holidays, birthdays, or even seating arrangements at weddings can become minefields of miscommunication and hurt feelings. Another source of friction comes from inheritance concerns, even if no one says it aloud. Adult children may wonder if a new spouse will receive assets they once assumed would be passed down. According to Fidelity's 2023 Retirement and Family Study, nearly 1 in 3 Americans over 60 believe remarriage could complicate or reduce their expected inheritance. That belief alone, whether accurate or not, can create a barrier between you and your children unless it's addressed with transparency. So, what can you do to prevent these emotional rifts before they deepen? It starts with clear, compassionate communication. Sit down with your family and be honest, not just about your plans to remarry, but about what this new chapter truly means to you. Emphasize that your decision isn't a replacement of your past, but a continuation of your journey. Share your hopes, your need for companionship, and your desire to find joy again without asking anyone to forget or diminish the memory of your former spouse. More importantly, be open to listening. Allow your children or other family members to express their fears, even if they come out clumsily. Reassure them through words and actions that they still matter, that family traditions can be preserved or thoughtfully adapted, and that no one is being replaced. In some cases, it may even be wise to include a neutral third party, such as a family therapist, to help navigate difficult conversations or lingering grief. Linda eventually took that route. After a difficult Thanksgiving dinner, where tension boiled over into an argument, she and Harold invited a family counselor to meet with her children. What emerged was not anger, but grief. Her daughter admitted she still missed her father deeply and feared that welcoming Harold meant letting go of him. That honest moment of vulnerability changed everything. They began rebuilding trust, not by pretending the past never happened, but by honoring it while welcoming the future. Finally, it's wise to put your intentions in writing. If financial concerns are causing unspoken stress, share your estate plan, update your will, or create a living trust that clearly outlines how assets will be distributed. Transparency now can prevent resentment later. Make sure your choices reflect both your heart and your long-term vision for your family's peace. Because here's the second truth about remarriage after 60. It's not just about finding love again, it's about bringing your family along with you in heart and in spirit. And when you take the time to communicate with clarity, compassion, and courage, you create the space for everyone, including yourself, to embrace this next chapter with openness and hope. Equally important, and often even more subtle, is the third truth about remarriage. After 60, your emotional expectations will likely be very different now than they were earlier in life, and recognizing that shift is essential to building a fulfilling second marriage. In our younger years, marriage was often about building a future together, raising children, managing a household, chasing dreams side by side. But in this later chapter of life, marriage takes on a different shape. It's less about starting a life and more about sharing one that's already been shaped by decades of experiences, habits, preferences, and even solitude. This difference in emotional expectations can either create a peaceful rhythm between two people or quietly drive them apart, if not acknowledged from the start. Consider the story of Jack, a 74-year-old retired Navy veteran from Oregon who spent over a decade living alone after his divorce. He valued his independence, spent his mornings fishing, his afternoons in his woodshop, and his evenings reading on the porch with his dog. When he met Carla, a 69-year-old widow with a warm laugh and a love for lively conversation, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Companionship, connection, the spark of being seen again. Carla, too, was eager to love and be loved, and they quickly grew close. But within a few months of moving in together, subtle tensions began to surface. Carla wanted to cook every meal together, plan weekend trips, and chat late into the evening. Jack, while caring deeply for her, felt overwhelmed. He missed his quiet time, He didn't want to hurt her, but he also didn't want to lose the solitude he had grown to treasure. These kinds of emotional mismatches are more common than most people expect. According to a 2021 survey by the AARP, nearly 45% of people over 60 who remarried reported that adjusting to daily life with a new partner was more emotionally challenging than anticipated. The reason most enter a second marriage, not as blank slates, but as individuals with fully developed lifestyles, routines, and emotional rhythms. While love can blossom at any age, the reality is that you're not just learning to love someone new, you're learning how to merge lives that have already been fully lived. One key emotional adjustment many older couples face is how to balance closeness with independence. After years, sometimes decades of living alone or on their own terms, each person may value their space in very personal ways. One may crave shared experiences and togetherness, while the other may see peace and solitude as essential to happiness. If not talked about, this difference in emotional needs can create silent disappointment or even resentment. It's not about who's right or wrong. It's about understanding that people love differently. Emotional expectations also vary based on the reason for remarriage. Some individuals, especially those who have lost a spouse, may be seeking a deep emotional connection to fill a profound void. Others who have gone through painful divorces might be more guarded, hoping for companionship without too much emotional intensity. These unspoken expectations can quietly shape the relationship for better or worse. That's why it's critical to have honest conversations early on. Before moving in together or tying the knot, talk about your emotional routines just as clearly as you would your financial ones. How do you each like to spend your mornings? How much social time versus quiet time do you need? What does closeness look like to each of you? There's no right answer, but there is a right approach. Openness. Jack and Carla eventually sat down with a couples coach who specialized in later life relationships. Through those sessions, Carla began to understand that Jack's need for solitude wasn't a rejection, it was a reflection of how he had learned to care for himself. And Jack, in turn, made a more conscious effort to plan shared time with Carla, so she felt seen and appreciated. They didn't change who they were. They simply learned how to better support each other's needs, and in doing so, their relationship became stronger, not strained. Research backs this up. According to a 2020 report by the Stanford Center on Longevity, couples over 60 who openly discuss their personal routines and expectations before marriage report 30% higher satisfaction rates than those who do not. The act of talking about your day-to-day emotional needs, however small they may seem, can have a profound effect on long-term harmony. Because the third truth is this: remarriage in your later years isn't about filling a role, it's about honoring who you are now while opening space for someone else to walk beside you. When you embrace your emotional reality with clarity and courage, you build a bond that fits your life, not one that tries to reshape it. And that, more than anything, is what allows love to thrive at any age. And once emotional expectations are acknowledged and respected, there's yet another layer that can't be overlooked: the legal realities of remarriage after 60. While love may bring joy and renewal, the law brings structure, and failing to understand how legal matters shift with remarriage can lead to unintended consequences that affect everything from your health care to your inheritance. It's easy to assume that legal paperwork is just a formality, something you'll get to later. But the truth is that even one overlooked document can disrupt your wishes and create stress for your loved ones during already difficult moments. Take a story of Thomas, a 75-year-old retired accountant from Florida. After 10 years of widowhood, he remarried Evelyn, a kind and energetic woman he met at a community garden. They built a happy life together, sharing travel plans and morning walks. But when Thomas was unexpectedly hospitalized after a stroke, it became painfully clear that they had not handled some critical legal updates. Evelyn, though his wife, was unaware that Thomas had never updated his power of attorney or advanced healthcare directive. His adult son from a previous marriage, who still held medical authority, made decisions Evelyn didn't agree with. Confusion, tension, and even legal delays followed, complicating an already traumatic time. This situation is far more common than people realize. According to a 2023 survey by the National Institute on Aging, nearly 40% of older adults who remarry do not update their estate documents, medical authorizations, or legal beneficiaries within the first 2 years of remarriage. The result: families are often left guessing and sometimes fighting over who has the right to make decisions, access funds, or inherit property. One of the most important legal considerations is estate planning. When you remarry, your new spouse typically gains certain automatic rights to your estate, even if your will was written with someone else in mind. Without updated legal documents, assets you had intended to pass down to your children or grandchildren may instead default to your new spouse under state law. In blended families especially, this can lead to resentment, broken relationships, or even court disputes. According to a 2022 report from Caring, only 33% of American adults have a will, and among those over 65, nearly 1 in 5 have not updated their estate plan after significant life changes like marriage, divorce, or the death of a spouse. That's why creating or revisiting your will, establishing a trust if needed, and updating all beneficiary designations on life insurance, retirement accounts, and property titles isn't just smart, it's necessary. Another key area involves legal authority in medical situations. In many states, a spouse is automatically considered next of kin and given priority in making medical decisions if you become incapacitated. But this doesn't apply if you haven't completed the right paperwork or if a previous document lists someone else. In Thomas's case, had he completed an updated healthcare proxy naming Evelyn, much of the confusion could have been avoided. This is why setting up an advance directive and naming a medical power of attorney should be part of your remarriage checklist. It's also worth noting that in the age of digital records and privacy laws, even accessing a partner's medical information or financial accounts may require formal legal permission. Beyond healthcare and inheritance, there's another legal tool many overlook: the prenuptial agreement. For older adults, a prenup isn't about mistrust, it's about clarity. It allows both partners to protect the assets they've worked hard to build, outline financial responsibilities, and make sure children from previous relationships are accounted for. According to the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers, prenuptial agreements among people over 50 have risen by more than 60% in the past decade. These agreements can reduce conflict, provide peace of mind, and protect against misunderstandings that might otherwise cause friction. Thomas and Evelyn eventually learned this lesson. After his recovery, they sat down with an estate attorney who helped them draft new wills, assign medical proxies, and create a plan that honored both their shared life and their commitments to their children. They described the experience not as a burden, but as a gift to themselves and their family. Because here's the fourth truth: remarriage after 60 doesn't just ask for love, it demands legal wisdom. You've built a life and perhaps a legacy. Protecting it clearly, thoughtfully, and in writing is one of the greatest acts of love you can offer. Legal planning may not feel romantic, but it's the framework that allows love, health, and family to function peacefully when the unexpected happens. And when those plans are in place, you're free to focus on the joy of the life you're building together, knowing that your wishes will be honored and your family won't be left guessing. And once the legal groundwork has been thoughtfully laid, there's one final truth to consider, one that's often overlooked, yet deeply personal. Remarriage after 60 will challenge you to redefine what happiness truly means in this stage of life. In your younger years, happiness in marriage may have been tied to shared goals: raising children, buying a home, building careers together, chasing dreams that stretched far into the future. But now in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, happiness takes on a different shape. It becomes less about building and more about maintaining peace, independence, routine, identity, and emotional balance. And unless you pause to ask yourself what happiness really looks like for you now, it's easy to step into a new relationship with old assumptions that no longer serve your current life. One such a person is Susan, a 70-year-old retired librarian from Michigan. After living alone for 8 years following her husband's death, she met Tom, a 73-year-old jazz enthusiast with a love for travel and spontaneity. At first, their romance felt like a second youth, exciting, warm, and full of promise. They got married within a year. But once the initial thrill faded, Susan began to feel unsettled. Tom was always suggesting weekend getaways, joining social clubs, or planning dinner parties. Susan, on the other hand, cherished her quiet mornings with tea, her book club, her garden, and her slow, peaceful rhythm of life. She didn't resent Tom's energy, she simply didn't share it. After a few months of trying to keep up, she found herself exhausted and even resentful. That was when she realized something crucial. Her happiness wasn't missing. It was simply being buried beneath someone else's version of joy. This kind of emotional disconnect is more common than people imagine. According to a 2021 study by the Pew Research Center, 43% of remarried adults over 60 reported that the greatest adjustment wasn't financial or legal. It was learning how to preserve personal space and peace while sharing life with someone new. Many enter a second marriage believing that love will naturally bring happiness. But in truth, happiness at this stage is more nuanced. It's about balance, emotional self-awareness, and the freedom to maintain the life you've worked hard to create. What makes this adjustment tricky is that very few people talk about it openly. There's an unspoken pressure to be grateful for finding love again, to believe that companionship should automatically bring contentment. But happiness after 60 is deeply individual. For some, it means constant togetherness, sharing every meal, every trip, every conversation. For others, it means companionship without losing autonomy, being able to say, I love you, but I also need my own time, my own space, my own rhythm. Neither version is wrong. But what is wrong is assuming your partner shares your vision without ever talking about it. This is why emotional honesty with yourself is just as important as communication with your partner. Ask yourself, what does joy look like to me now? What daily routines matter to me? What kind of connection am I really seeking? Do I feel complete in myself and simply want someone to walk beside me, or am I hoping a partner will fill something I feel is missing? These questions are not signs of doubt. They're signs of maturity. They help you build a relationship grounded in real compatibility, not illusion or outdated ideals. Susan eventually found her balance. After a heartfelt conversation with Tom, she explained how overwhelmed she had been trying to match his pace. To her surprise, he understood completely. They began scheduling quiet days at home, alternating social plans and honoring each other's needs without guilt. It wasn't about compromise, it was about mutual respect, the kind that lets two people grow together while still honoring who they are as individuals. That shift brought Susan not only relief, but a deeper kind of joy, one rooted in authenticity. Researchers from the Stanford Center on Longevity support this perspective, noting in a 2020 report that later life couples who maintain individual routines while supporting shared goals report the highest satisfaction and emotional health in remarriage. The study also found that older adults who feel they can be fully themselves within their relationship are 62% more likely to describe their marriage as happy and peaceful. So here's the fifth truth. Happiness in remarriage after 60 is not about recapturing youth or starting over. It's about honoring the life you've built, understanding what truly brings you peace, and sharing that with someone who respects your journey. When you know what happiness looks like for you now, and you choose a partner who aligns with or supports that vision, love doesn't become a disruption. It becomes a gentle complement. And in that space, the joy that grows is not rushed, not forced, but deeply real. And with all these truths laid bare, financial, familial, emotional, legal, and personal, it becomes clear that remarriage after 60 is not a decision to rush, but one to approach with heart wisdom and self-awareness. Yes, love and companionship matter deeply, but they are only part of the equation. The rest lies in how well you understand yourself, how honestly you communicate with your loved ones, and how intentionally you plan for your future. When you take time to reflect on what you truly want, prepare for the realities that come with this new chapter, and choose a partner who respects your journey, remarriage can be a beautiful continuation, not a disruption of the life you've built. It's not just about finding someone to grow old with. It's about choosing to grow wiser, freer, and more fulfilled together. So before you walk down that aisle or say yes to the next step, pause and ask yourself, am I ready for this? Not just with my heart, but with my eyes wide open. If you found today's insights helpful, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. What resonated with you most, or what questions do you still have about remarrying later in life? If you know someone who might be facing these same questions, feel free to share this video with them. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a message designed to help you live your later years with clarity, peace, and purpose. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.